And next, we're going to start looking at adding in our construction lines. Construction lines are used in SDS2 to generate basic selectable points that we can use for locating exact locations within our model. So to get started here, what we're going to do is we're going to add an infinite construction line. And we can do this in a couple different ways. If we wanted to use our search bar in the upper right corner of our modeling window, we could type in construction line, and here we can see construction line add. If we didn't want to do that, we could come over to our layout page, and within our layout section, we can see here that this is the construction line add tool or icon. Now, if you hover over an icon long enough, it's going to bring up a bubble. It's going to tell you what that tool is. It's going to tell you what the keyboard shortcut is. So the little CA in the brackets is telling me that that's what the keyboard shortcut is. It's going to give you a little bit more information about what the tool is. You have the option to pin to quick access, and then the learn more is going to take you to our help documentation over that tool or icon. Another place we can look to see what tool this is in our status line down at the bottom on our static toolbar. Next to the button bindings, it says construction line add, and then it gives us our keyboard shortcut CA as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to invoke that command. And the next thing it wants us to do is to select a construction line that we have within our model. So once we select that command, you'll notice that we get a locate tab or a locate page that pops up. This will include all of our snaps, as well as our tools including our toggle UCS, our XYZ location, and then our XYZ offsets. So our snaps with construction lines, the first one we're going to go over is the base construction line. So the base construction line snap will allow you to select a construction line that you already have in your model and base another or new construction line off of that one that's already there. So the base construction line is already selected for me. If it's not, you can go ahead and select on this snap right here. And then we want to pick a construction line that we want to base a new one off of. In this case, I'm going to click on the vertical one, and this will bring up our base construction line window. So here we can specify a dimension from the construction line, how far we want to go over. We can specify a repeat factor if we're going to have multiple of the same distances. Our lock base position, what the lock base position is going to do is it's going to make sure that no matter how many construction lines you add in, it's always going to go from the first or the base construction line that you pick. The pen color, you have the ability to specify the colors of the construction line that you're adding, and then some various add options down there at the bottom. So if we refer to our sheet S1 or S2, we can see that the distances from grid lines A to B, B to C, as well as C to D are all the same at 7,620 millimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in for our dimension 7,620. For the repeat factor, I'm going to go ahead and say 3 because we need 3 more construction lines at that distance. I'm going to keep lock base position off. Our default color is set up for blue or the 6. And then the next thing I can do is I can come down here and I can just click the add button. And we can see that our 3 construction lines at that specified distance get entered into our model. Now if we are looking at our sheets, we can see that the distance from grid line D to grid line E is a little bit shorter at 6,096 millimeters. So what we can do is we can stay in this base construction line window here, and we can just simply go in and type in 6096. Our repeat factor is set to 1. I'm going to leave my pen color to blue again, and I'm just going to hit add again. And as you can see, that's going to add that 4th construction line off of the end one here. Now if we would have had the lock base position, that distance would have added it from this very first one that we picked. So that's what the lock base position will do. So now that we got our vertical construction lines in, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to exit out of this. And as you can see, we are still in our add construction line command. Our locate tab is still active. And if we hover over any one of these construction lines, it wants us to select that. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to select the horizontal construction line so we can add in our horizontal lines. So again, I'm going to pick that one. And we can see from our grid line number 1 to 1.9 is the specified distance at 6,096. Now what we want to do here is we want to add in the negative direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to add negative. So once I hit this, we can see that this construction line is added below. If I would have just hit add, it would have added it in the positive direction because my unit up here is positive. If I would have had hit the add positive, it would have obviously added it in the positive direction. And if I would have hit the add positive and negative, it would have added it on both sides of the line that we first specified there. So now if we're referring to our sheets, our distances from 1.9 to 2, as well as grid line 2 to 2.1, are the same at 2,286. So what we can do here is we can type in our distance at 2,286, and we can hit a repeat factor of 2 since we're adding 2 lines. And we can come down here and we can hit the add negative again, and we can see that those 2 lines get added. And then lastly, from our grid lines 2.1 to 3 is that same distance at 6,096. So I'd have to come up here and change my distance again to 6,096. And I'm going to add negative one more time, and we can see that that last horizontal construction line gets added in. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and just hit exit, and we can either escape on our keyboard, or if we right click, it's going to return out of that command. It's going to return us back to our main modeling screen, and now I can kind of zoom in and center up these construction lines that we added. And if we want to double check, what we can do is we can come here to our tools, and we actually have a ruler command, and we can come in here and we can start measuring things. So that distance is correct. If we want to measure, let's say this distance right here, we can see that that's correct. And all of our distances look good. So I'm going to go back to my layout page here. So another way we can add in construction lines is by adding a finite construction line. So to invoke that command, we can come up here and we can click on this icon. We can either hit CF for the keyboard shortcut, or we could search this command. For this, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the icon, and as you can see, the locate tab is going to pop up, and with a finite construction line, the 2 points that I pick is going to be the extents of the construction line. So this is we have to be careful here. The snap that we have on is our base construction line. So even though I picked a finite construction line icon, if I would choose one of these construction lines to base it off of, the one that gets added is going to be infinite because I'm basing it off of an infinite construction line. So what I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to want to pick a different snap, and I'm going to go intersection of construction line. And with this snap on, what you can see is it's going to want to base off of any of these intersections between any one of these construction lines. So now what I can do is I can go through and I can pick 2 points. So I'm just going to pick 2 random points for an example, and we can see that that construction line gets added in between the 2 points that I selected. So if I want to rerun this command, I can basically just pick any 2 points, and it's going to add that construction line in based off of the 2 random points that I select. Now, let's say we didn't want to have these construction lines in here like this. We can edit a construction line. To do this, what I'm going to have to do is escape out of this construction line add command. We can either right click or escape on our keyboard. And there's a couple different ways we can edit a construction line. The first is if we come up here and we type in construction line edit. We can see here that there's a command here, and once I click on that, we can look down in our status line, and it wants us to locate construction lines to edit. So if I want to click on this one, I can choose this one. If I want to select multiple, I could hit shift on my keyboard, and now I could select another construction line that I want to edit. Let's say in this case I just want to select just one of them. What I can do now is I can right click and say OK, and now I can come in here and edit this line. So we have a couple different options. Let's say I wanted to make this a finite or an infinite construction line. I can uncheck finite line, and let's say we want to change the pen color to red. I can say OK here, and now we can see we have an infinite construction line that is red. Another way that we could edit a construction line is by using our selection filter. So as I mentioned before, we can come down here, and what this will allow us to do is select other things within our model. So what we want to select right now is a construction line. So I could set this to construction lines, and now I can hover over any one of these and I can just double click, and the same construction line edit window pops up. So say I want a finite and I want a green one. You can see that that changes. I can also delete construction lines this way, so I can just select it and I can hit delete on my keyboard, and that construction line will be erased. Now we want to be careful when we're changing our selection filter, because now it's still set to construction lines. We are only able to select construction lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to set it to default. And now you can see we can't actually click on any construction lines. Another way to erase a construction line is by coming up here and going to the construction line erase command. You could type it in here as well, construction line erase, or if you wanted to, you can hit CS on your keyboard. So I'm just going to hit CS on my keyboard, and now we can see if we look at our status line, we are inside of that command. So we need to locate a construction line or construction lines to erase. I'm just going to select this, and I'm going to right click and say OK, and it's going to run that command. I erase my construction line, and I'm good to go.